Number 2 is discussion of tonight's agenda. Not everybody at once. If there's any items that you'd like to discuss, just yell it out, and we can discuss it about the agenda.
And this is maybe totally out of the law. There was something on Facebook about there's going to be a concert for basketball boosters or something like that, but we don't have any of that under use of facility or anything to approve, so. Yeah, and, I was just wondering where it was, if it even has to come to us, or, but it was an outside entertainer or something.
They didn't hear you, so I'm gonna say it to Miss Rattler if she's asking. They said, got some feedback coming through. They're saying that one of the basketball boosters is advertising a concert, but it's not on this agenda. Saw it on Facebook, I think, is what she said. Okay, we'll check during the break. We think it was approved last month.
Carla, do you
No.
want to discuss the additional position by chance? Sure.
It'd be easier to have it right here.
Well, the question is about adding, if we need another teacher at Crossroads Elementary. So the problem is we're gonna have 30 and 30, which is not too way out of the way, with teacher staffing according to the numbers. And I understand that if we go by the numbers of the enrollment of the kids, we have the right amount of teachers, but we don't live in a perfect world, and some of those kids are 17 in a class, 19 in a class, 30 in a class, and there's where we run into. And we're still getting hit, and I'll just say, like with the COVID generation, we've got children that are so far behind still that when you've got a teacher that has 30 kids in a class and another one with the other 30, and we've got learning, that's kids at all different learning levels in the same classroom, some children need they need a smaller classroom to be able to teach their content for math and reading. And if that needs to happen, maybe we need to consider just adding a teacher.
So if you look at the sheet I just passed out, and I do agree with Ms. Bowling, the fourth grade teachers at Crossroads are in quite a pickle. And so I'll try to talk about this sheet very quickly to help let you know where I'm at, and then we can discuss later if we want to take any action. But if you'll look at that sheet, you'll see on the left, 918, those numbers were pulled today from Infinite Campus. So Crossroads, you'll see I've done K1, 2, and 3, and then you see an average K3 in that first grade column. K through 3 is really an ungraded primary, so when we look at filling teachers in that 24-to-1 staffing ratio, we take the total of K through 3. And so if you slide over to number of students, you'll see that was 227. So you divide that by 24, that's the number of the ratio, and that gives you your allocation. So in our allocation, if you look over that third column from the right, it came to 9.5. And so when we did it before school, before students came, we had to guess a 5-year estimate on our kindergarten. So we actually overestimated. The numbers were actually down this year. And so in our allocation, if we were doing that today, it'd be 9.5. Anything that goes over a number, we always round up. So they should have in their K through 3 at Crossroads 10 teachers. They have 11, puts them at +1 there. And so when you look at the 4th grade, it's just the opposite. They're over, it puts them at -1. So, and both elementary schools, we also give an extra teacher. So that's why at the bottom, when you see total teachers, you'll see total 16, and then there's +1, 17. So on paper, they have exactly the number of teachers they have. But having been an elementary principal, the issue you run into is if you do splits, K1s, 1-2s, it becomes a very big nightmare to try to manage. And so I will concede there that they probably should need another. But when we drop down to OES, as you look at their ratios, kindergarten right now they have 17. If you take the 67 students and divide that by 4, they should only need 3 today. Again, we gave them 4 based on previous numbers. So they would owe the district a teacher there. They're over in the next grade, so that would even back out to 0. But again, we average K through 3, so there were 341 kids divided by 24-1, which is 14.2 in the allocation. That comes up to 15 because we round up, and they're at 16, so they're 1 over there, and they're actually in their 4th grade 1 over, so technically they're 2 over. So part of the thing that we'd have to look at, and I would have to sit down with Dr. Bailey, sit down with Ms. Combs, there's a possibility that there could be a transfer from OES to Crossroads to give them the extra teacher, and then the ratio will be here. But there's other things that play in that. I'll see who's in Title I and things like that. And so, generically speaking, there's a couple options. One, we can just let me have that meeting. Wouldn't be able to make a decision until either if you want to put it on the special called tax hearing, which I think it can only be taxes, or we'd have to do it on the October 23rd meeting. You all could discuss it, and you could do a temporary position for Crossroads, and then if I were able to do the transfer, we would not fill that. There's different scenarios that you can use. And so I did not put it on the agenda because I was looking into the possibility of the transfer, and I didn't want to ask for something that I didn't need, but they do. I will agree that Crossroads needs more assistance in 4th grade.
Can I ask you another question?
Yes, ma'am.
Brenda Holder brought up a good point. We're 5 weeks into school, and you've got 2 classrooms, so they've gotten used to this teacher. You see what I'm saying? And how long of a process are we looking at, do you think? Because I think we need to add a teacher, but how long of a process? Is it going to be another week, 2 weeks, 4 weeks, 6 weeks? Because that just puts them further and further and further behind.
If it comes down to it's a transfer, that's simply, I'm allowed to transfer people based on population. And so I can do that tomorrow, as early as tomorrow. If it's filling the position, then that would go to Miss Little, and she'd advertise, and she'd fill it. And she could fill it as quickly as 48 hours since school has started. And one of the other issues we have is we have some positions that we could not fill at the start of school, and I'm not sure, it may be a week or 2 before she even gets an applicant.
Okay.
And so that'd be a discussion that she and I could also have. I don't want to speak for her, but maybe a qualified one walks in tomorrow that, or it may be that she has to continue it.
What would be the quickest way or the best way? What would make it easier for you to be able to fill that position? Do you think we should make a temporary position, then if you do the transfer, we don't need that position? Or do you want us to go on and do that now so you can do it without waiting?
If you did a temporary position, and then Ms. Combs and Dr. Bailey and I came to an understanding that a transfer wouldn't work, then Ms. Little could immediately start advertising and fill that position. If I could do the transfer, then we would do that, and I'd come back and ask you all, you could rescind that position.
Okay, let's do that.
The beauty with the transfer is, one, I would look for someone that would be willing to go over.
Right.
But 2, both schools have good quality teachers. If we did a transfer, I would know I'm sending a quality teacher there. I can't promise that if we go for outside applicants, we may have a math person who's never taught a day, but coming in and is very excited, but would have a lot to learn right in the middle of, the first 9 weeks.
Okay. Well, if we do make that motion, we would do it in the executive session. I mean, in the
Yes, ma'am.
business.
I wanted to ask a question. Since we have different positions, I thought maybe somebody that was in a position that was not as secure for the future might want to transfer internally before we have to go outside, and then maybe fill whatever position. That's just a suggestion.
Yeah, there we go. Well, then again, if given the option, I will always try to fill it from within first. And so I would prefer to do a transfer if possible, and then hire from outside as a secondary resort.
Just so the board knows, we don't have an item for that on the main agenda. So if we cover that, we'll need to cover that in other business item number 14, the regular session. Is there any more discussion on tonight's agenda? Okay, so we did already approve that in the August meeting, she said, so she checked on that. Okay, thanks. Item number 3, discussion of consent items.
On the consent agenda, as always, 6A is minutes, 6B, August financial statement. That's the monthly financial report showing revenue expenditures for the month. 6C, claims, all bills paid during the month. 6D, superintendent expenditures made on behalf of the superintendent for the month. 6C, travel. You'll please take note there. There are 4 trips, either overnight or out of state. Will say that the senior class trip, Miss Brandenburg High School principal will be doing thank you. I was trying to say promotion, a presentation, and I think there will be some students as well on that one. The cross-country team wants to go to Ironton, Ohio for a cross-country meet. That's just an out-of-state trip. And then softball's looking to go an overnight trip in May, and then spring training to Florida in March over spring break, and they are going to be taking a motor coach. 6F, use of facilities. 6G, review of all financial reports. These are boards reports requested by current or previous boards. 6H, request to pay bills through September 30th. 6I, the FY24 working budget. Ms. Combs, let me share with you, this is the most accurate budget that we'll have for the year. It is required by the statute to be submitted by Kentucky Department of Education by September 30th. 6J, postage machine agreement with Central Business. 6K, a migrant MOA. This is something we do each year with BCTC to continue our migrant program. And then 6L is the TAR report. That's the technology activity report. It's required by KDE and details yearly expenditures related to technology from all funding sources. Those are the consent items.
One quick question, Ms. Brandenburg, is she going to speak during the student spotlight for Bath County High School or during consent items? When do you plan on that happening?
Do you want to do that during consent, Ms. Brandenburg?
Okay. Any other questions or comments about consent items? Okay. Item number 4, discussion and update on the Bath County High School project. I guess that'll be Tax Waterford, right?
Yes, and Mr. Ruiz can probably speak to these as well, if you gentlemen want to come forward. Item 8 is special inspections proposal for the Bath Laybeck project. 9 is special inspections invoice from L.E. Gregg. 10 is approval of a topographic survey, and 11 is approval of topographic survey invoice from Thoroughbred Engineering.
So, good afternoon. In particular to those agenda items, for the special inspections of Laybeck, I just wanted to clarify that the proposal in front of you is to extend the services of L.E. Gregg, who's currently doing the special inspections of the high school project. High school project, though, very minimal inspections to worry about, but normally they're in charge of reviewing anything that gets buried, anything that's structural, to make sure that they adhere to standards and references that our specifications call out for. So they do all those testings and make sure that everything adheres to the specs and the drawings. So that would be their proposal for extending their service to cover a lot of the site and exterior structural work at the Chenault building and adjacent high school site work. As far as the next special inspections invoice, that is just for, I think, one visit that they made for the high school project. So that's don't quote me, but I want to say it's maybe around, it's a lower number. I don't want to say too low, but I want to say it's about maybe $100 for that one visit. But that's the actual invoice for that. For the other,
$47.
$47, okay. As far as the topographic 2 line items, they kind of lump together. So just for clarity, the last time I came in front of you all and presented the topographic survey proposal, that was the lowest bid at around 11,000 and some difference. And the next highest was about 15,000. Apparently, when the topographic provider went into utility negotiations for getting the actual utility portion covered, that was at a higher amount than anticipated. So the line item for topo survey work is to be revised. Instead of $11,000, it'd be, I think, 13 something, which is still lower than any of the other bidders. So that first line item is to correct what they actually would charge for the utility portion, which was a difference of $2,000. The last line item for topographic is them saying, hey, we've completed the work and we've provided that work to the design team to then proceed and do the design work. So the first one is to approve the board is okay with the revised amount. The second one is to actually approve the payment of that revised amount for the completed work. So before I step away and have Rob and David chime in on progress, is there any questions related to special inspections or the topographic survey proposal invoicing?
Will there be any more inspections needed on this?
Ongoing, yes. So the invoice amount for the high school, I don't foresee there being too many more because a lot of those items, I'll say this, the high school has way less special inspections requirements versus the Chenault/Laybeck project. So the high school may have 1 or 2 more visits that are invoiced in. The Chenault building and the associated site work around the Chenault building and high school, they will have several more visits as they inspect when the canopy and its foundations get installed, and any other kind of structural work that's happening at the actual Chenault building. So short answer is yes, there'll be more, but fewer at the high school and more for the actual exterior and interior part of the Chenault building.
So when we do our bid work, the bid does not include those inspections?
Correct, yes. And those are more because the bids are for the actual construction part of the project, and then there would have to be third-party people involved to do special inspections. Similar, there's the commissioning part of projects, especially for HVAC projects. And there's also testing and balancing. That's also like a similar kind of way of categorizing how special inspections get separated from the actual construction bid.
Gotcha.
Okay, thank you. I will say, Ms. Bowling, that those items are, even though they're not part of construction, they are in the bonded amount. So you all pretty much approved those. So, I mean, as far as funding for that, it shouldn't come out of general fund. Hopefully there's dollars in the BG. Yeah, Brittany's shaking her head, so it should be good. No, but on
That's
the,
where I was going, so
on
thank
behalf
you.
of Pax Walker, before Mr. Rice gives a report on the progress, I'd just like to say we appreciate the opportunity to come before the board each month to give you an update on your projects. Some boards choose not for us to come directly to the board, but we think coming before you, because you're the one that ultimately hires us to do the work, we'd like to come before you and just give you a report, and that way I think it minimizes any kind of misunderstanding or misinformation. And we certainly enjoy working. We've had a great working relationship with Ms. Brandenburg and Mr. Thompson. But again, we'd like to come directly to the board, and on behalf of Pax Walker, we appreciate that. So I'll turn it over to Mr. Rice.
Good afternoon, everybody. As Mr. Rose just said, we appreciate the opportunity of being able to work with the school, because we want to see improvements, of course, also for our kids and the faculty that's working here. If you noticed, there's been a lot of tar smell going on outside from the kettle work. They're probably 40% complete with removal and putting back of the gym roof. I talked with Jimmy again this morning, and possibly by the first or second week of October, by the second week completely, the metal and all should be done with the parapet work. So the gym is progressing very well right now, so it's going forward good. Area C, which is the end of the hallway down there where we've been working, all of the high school part of it is on schedule. It's finishing up like it's supposed to be. Layback, we've been kind of a hesitation on the flooring, but we've got it selected now. I've got approval for ordering, so I'll be ordering, letting the contractors know tomorrow to get the flooring ordered for the layback part of the high school that's in those. It's 2 classrooms and a storage room. It's a 215, 214, 213C. So we'll get those ordered so we can get the flooring down. I spoke to Ms. Brandenburg this morning, which has been very easy to work with, and also Mr. Thompson, Mr. Oatweider. They've worked good with us and the faculty here. We was hoping by September the 29th to be able to turn the classrooms over. It's dependent upon the flooring and its arrival, whether or not we'll be able to do that. So we've discussed with her again this morning that it may be closer to fall break for everything's finalized, and by end of fall break be able to move into the new classrooms by then. So it's not really going to be too much of a delay, but it is going to be maybe a week or so out from what it originally had planned to be. But it's progressing forward. All the ductwork and stuff is completed. The lighting is going in. Our inspections start this week on our above ceiling. The electrical inspector will be here. Our CMTA will be here Friday to do their inspections, and our building inspector will be here following after that, after I give him the report from all of them. So everything is progressing so far very well with it. We received 28 AC units last week, and we got another 28 or 29 today. So we've almost got the entire 63 units on site now, which wasn't supposed to be here till December. We've got them now. Fall break, we're hoping to be able to start installing them in the hallway of Area C, and then possibly start getting that ceiling enclosed in that hallway. So we're making progress, and things are going forward with that. And our workers have, so far, they've been doing good. They're staying out of the way of the students. When the bell rings, they know to go to the classrooms where they're working to stay out of the way of the hallway, because I've had to make it that trip down through there every now and then, and it gets crowded quick with all those kids running back and forth. So they've done very well with that. Let's see. I just spoke with Todd over here on the geothermal. He's setting the last vault tomorrow. All the lines are connected now to the first vault, which was for the high school. All those lines are connected. The main lines just will need to be connected and brought across. So the main vault will go in for the Chenault building tomorrow. Those lines will start being connected. He's still on schedule to be able to be done and start seeding and strawing in October. So we're glad of that. Everything's on schedule with it, and it's moving forward the way it's supposed to be. Yes, you can. Yeah, go ahead.
So I know the well field is a sensitive topic when it comes to when it gets reestablished. I just want to make sure the board knows that even though the goal is to have the well field seeded and basically hopefully germinated by sometime in October, there could be potential that some of it, minor part of it or majority of it, needs to get corrected once the spring comes around again. So long term, if there's ever like an intention to basically put cattle back out there or any kind of animal in the zone, the grass likely 100% won't be back until basically maybe summer or fall of next year. So as long as you know, if any questions come up about when the well field would be occupiable for animals, realistically, it might be good to plan on it being in the fall time, even though we'll seed it this fall and wait for the spring to see what actually germinated. I just want to make sure that was clear for whenever the well field's ready.
Do you have any questions that I could possibly answer?
I do, Mr. Rice. Let's start on the roof. You said it was 40% complete. Does that include the change order that we approved for the,
The parapet work?
Yes.
Yes,
okay?
yes.
Are we right now, I know we're 40% complete, are we dry inside?
Yes, but now he's still doing demo and tearing off. It is dried now. Then you got the lower roof that has to be done. That's in between the gymnasium and the actual school building itself, which that'll be the last step, will be that part. And then it'll all be dried in from there. You shouldn't have any more issues.
When do
The
we expect
reason-
that,
oh,
when do you think that will be to be completely dried in? I'm just thinking about winter.
He's thinking the second week of October.
Okay,
He said that this Wednesday, that he should have all the roof demoed and all the new back on, and then, of course, then you got quite a few steps following that finishes out before the metal goes on and the cap goes on the final part of it. But the way he talked, this Wednesday, he'll have the entire gym part dried in. That we won't have to worry about it. And I went up and took some pictures today, and I've got pictures anytime you want to look at them. If you don't have access to Ecom, come to the office. I'll gladly show you what I've taken, but I've got pictures step by step of what they're doing. They're going through as they put it in, and they're sealing, plus they're putting extra sealant between the layers of the felt paper when it goes in. Then they're putting the tar on top of it, and then they're putting the pad. So they're taking extra steps to seal it good.
okay. And all the masonry work is done up there?
Yes, all the demo is completed up there.
Okay,
Yeah, all the metal studs are up, the insulation's up, the gypsum is on the parapet walls on both sides where they've demoed the inside of it. All the outside gypsum's on. And they're doing the inside as the roofers take off. They're working together, the finished trades and the roofer trade are working together. As they demo that, then they're going in and finishing the gypsum, then they're putting the roof on top of it following that.
are there any AC units, any rooms in the high school that are not cooling at this time?
The only one that I know of that isn't cooling that will be replaced is in the weight room, which is not occupied. We actually asked Eddie the other day, because we noticed that the switch gear was turned off, and we asked him about turning it on so we could get some of the filtration working to, our vents and all that, where we put new duct lines in, and he said there was a bearing or something that was out of that one unit. But as far as the other units, everything is working that I know of in the school. You've got condensation leaks all over the place, which hopefully once the new units go in, new lines go in, that'll resolve all that.
Okay. And kind of taking us back to July, pre-school starting, have we had any problems with students hanging from the wires or trying to jerk them out of the ceiling?
Not that I'm aware of. Nobody's mentioned to me. Like I said, I talk to Miss Brandenburg regularly, and she's not mentioned any issues or anything with that, and I've not seen or heard of anything from none of our guys.
Okay.
And I walk the hallways quite often, and I'm always looking up to see if anything's hanging any lower or anything. There's not been any sign of anybody getting a hold of anything.
That was a large issue, so I just want to make
Yeah.
sure.
No, there's been no issues thus
Okay.
far that I know of.
And you mentioned the new AC units. I'm sure those are materials in storage. Are they safe?
Yes. Matter of
Okay.
fact, they're in the shop area right now of the Chenault building.
Okay.
They're on site.
That's all I have.
Okay. Anything else? Like I said, my office is always open. I've got photographs. I'll be glad to walk you, show you through anything that I have got. And it's on e-com. Like I said, if you don't have access to it, I'll be glad to sit down with you. Just come over, and if you don't have my number, somebody will give it to you, and I'll be glad to talk to you over it.
I think he said something about throwing us. Did you hear that? He said throwing us, so.
Said something about what?
Throwing us, didn't you?
Yeah.
We'll have to keep an eye on you. Okay. Okay. Any other comments or questions for Pax
Yes.
Walker or the architects? Any other comments from you all?
I would just like to say, from our standpoint, my standpoint, Mr. Rice is, I've had to come over here several times to investigate some issues or complaints, and he has dropped everything in a moment, has always met with me. Mr. Ruiz, Mr. Rhodes, I make a phone call, they answer, or they get right back. They've all three, Ross Tarrant and Pax Walker, have been, on my end, a very pleasure to work with, and I appreciate it.
Thank you. Well, you hired us to do the job, and we want to do it properly.
Okay. Item number 5, discussion of the 2024-25 school calendar committee formation.
KRS 158.070 Part D requires that a school district calendar committee be formed consisting of one school principal, one district office administrator, one member from the Board of Education, 2 parents, 1 elementary teacher, 1 middle or high school teacher, 2 classified employees, and 2 community members. This committee will construct the 23-24 school year, and during the regular session, they're just asking for the board to approve that committee be able to form and begin their work.
Do we need to appoint the board member tonight also?
Ms. Watkins is in charge of that, and she says if you all choose to do that, that would be acceptable. Correct? Thank you, ma'am.
If you're all right, we'll do it tonight and just get it over with. That way it's marked off our list. Okay, item number 6, discussion of tax hearing date. And this needs to go just a little more in depth. I'm gonna add something to this. We do need a date. We do need a location. And I think the board has discussed the middle school, but within the middle school, we need to also be more detailed about that, where we're gonna meet. And it's my opinion, the cafeteria has worked out good so far, but if the board has other ideas, please throw them out there tonight. But we need to have a location within the location, a date, and then also, part of that for the main agenda, we need to declare tonight, you tell me if I'm wrong, but we need to declare tonight for the advertisement what we're gonna go for as far as the tax rate. Is that correct?
That's correct in the sense that you can only take the highest number that you advertise. And so even if you were to take the compensating of the current, you would, if you said current, that's as much you could take. So you want to advertise the highest rate that the board would be willing to consider.
Okay, and tell me again, if we were to state that we want to go for compensate and the nickel, and let's just say the nickel did not pass, what would it fall back to?
The 4% rate is the rate that the board can pass that cannot be challenged. So if you take anything above the 4%, that above the 4% is recallable. If it's recalled, the rate will revert back to a 4%.
Okay. And the last piece of this puzzle is, I've spoke to several of you about this, and I want to do this again, is I want this tax meeting to have a tour in it. And I know that takes time, but it's no surprise, shouldn't be a surprise to anyone, that we're going to have well-informed and organized opposition for this. And I think it would be a great opportunity for us to take them on about a maybe 45-minute walk through the building. And they may wish not to do that, I don't know. But at least, you know, we're trying to do everything and be transparent and show the public in every way possible, look at what we've got and what's happening. No one can walk through that middle school and not tell us there's got to be work done here. You know, we've got to do some things. So as part of this advertisement for this tax, it goes more than just, to me, just the hearing date. We need to do the date, location, the location within the location. We need to declare the rate tonight, and we need to also put part of the advertisement, a tour is going to be there that evening. And it'll probably be the first item on the agenda, something like that. So.
Mr. Steele?
Yes.
I think one of the issues that people don't realize, if they want to keep the middle school building, then it's going to take the tax increase to do that. If we don't have the tax increase, we probably will not be able to keep that historic building.
I agree.
And that's the question, does the county want the building or not? So,
Well, the thing that concerns me is, you know, it concerns me about letting a Bethel situation happen in the middle of Owensville. Not that Owensville's any better than Bethel or Sharpsburg, but, you know, I think it's up to us to fight for that building and to try to make it something that can be usable for the next 30 years. It's a great building. I'd hate to tear it down, but you know, we've all walked through it. We all know that building, and that building's got some serious issues, of which one is heating and air, and heat concerns me more than air. So the boiler, I can't remember. Mr. Thompson, you can yell it out if you want to. How old is the boiler? 1989. So.
plus infrastructure, electrical, plumbing, all of this, aged.
Yeah, the IT in the building is ridiculous. I feel like our students, when they hit the middle school, they go through a phase where the IT, they go backwards for a couple of years. So.
There's chicken wire in the walls, that's
Yes. 20 years? Okay, so we've gotten our money's worth. Okay. Okay. So, Brenda just made a comment, I think it's a good point, that the concrete has chicken wire in it. I guess it would be kind of like today's, you know, rebar for strength. I mean, yeah, I mean, but you know, I know there's ways we can probably rectify and get around all that because we're not going to take the chicken wire out of the walls. But there's a lot of things we can do with new technology, upgrade technology, and you know, we got to understand that the kids going through Bath County schools, our kids went through, they're still going through, and we want to keep that building functioning. I was thinking about, you know, just a house this weekend when I was thinking about this. You know, we all do upgrades to our house. Why? Because our house gets old. We have to do it. We don't want to do it. Roofs, you know, all kinds of things we have to do to our houses. Well, there's no difference in a school building that has, you know, 600 kids running through it every day and eating meals and all the things that they do and all the athletic events that are going on at night. So, anyways. Any other comments about the discussion of the tax hearing date?
What is, if someone says we vote and they want to take the nickel, because the nickel goes 100% to construction, on a $100,000 home, how much is that on an increase?
On our webpage, we have updated our tax calculator, and I was going to talk about this in the regular session.
But if you just simply go to our webpage, which I'll pull up right here, and what we have put on here is we have put on the nickel plus compensating rate, which is 61.1. That's what we're using. The board, if the board chooses to go with another rate as the maximum rate, we'll change that calculator. But when you wait for it to come up, but when it loads, you just simply take your assessed value and you get that off your property tax. Of course, I'm sitting here looking at it spinning. But $87,600 is the on the 2020 census, the medium home income. And I know that one off the top of my head. That's $5.55 more a month, $68 more for the year. I can't put the calculator in because it's sitting here spinning. So at 100, oh, wait. I have it right here in front of me. I apologize. It's in my Excel file. So your question was at $100,000 with the nickel compensating? That would be $617 would be your total bill. It'd be an increase of $76 over the previous year.
So what you're saying is, if I understand this correctly, I want to make sure I get it right, because I'll get asked this 1,000 times. On a $100,000 home, you're only talking about an extra $76 for the entire year.
Yes.
Yes, which
Increase.
equates to $6.34.
Because they're going to pay whatever they're paying now, no matter what. And then an additional for that nickel tax is an additional $76 for the year. And that $76, if we take that nickel, will generate from the state, because the state will fund us how much?
This year, the state will provide $477,708 just for the nickel.
And is that in just 1 year, or is that in?
That's when it equalizes. That's when they'll give the full percentage. That'll be for 18 years, which just that $477,000 over the lifespan's $8,500,000. But our bonding, which is the amount we can borrow, will immediately go up $6.5 million. And then another year after that, that's when the equalization starts. At 25%, we'll get another $1.4 million increase, and then in 2026, we'll get another $4 million. And so
that's a $14 million increase over the
Absolutely.
next 3 years.
And here's
That's the part the public does not understand.
and what I've got some graphs and stuff I don't have here, but I showed people later on. It used to be the state funded the majority of school funding. That several years ago that changed. Now the local district does the majority of the funding. So that's why for raises and things like that, we have to look at taxing our people. And I don't want to do that, and this board doesn't want to do that, but it's the only way. We gave a 2% raise my first year, and we went from 157th in teacher pay to 160. So we gave a 2% raise and dropped because the rest of the state's outpacing us. This is the same thing. We have to take this tax to save our district. And the thing to understand is if we had taken, last year we went for the nickel plus 4, that was a rate of 59.1. That would have given us $560,000 a year. We'd have a little more money in that segment. But if we don't take it and we take the 4%, next year we will pass the 59.1. So the taxpayer is going to pay the exact same amount. The difference is we lose out on that 20 million plus bonding, and we'll have to go into the middle school taking money out of general fund, which just creates a vicious cycle that we'll have to ask for more money. And so if we'll take the nickel, it'll be the last time people will have to hear the word nickel come out of the mouth of myself, which I'm sure they'd be glad to hear, and the board, because that will set us for the next 50 years.
Okay.
I don't know if you can see it on the TV over here. I don't know if they can see it, what they can see out there, but on a $100,000 home, right now they currently pay $541. It would go up to $617, $76 a year, $6.33 a month would be the increase if we took the nickel on a $100,000 home. Now, one other thing Mr. Evans and I have talked about, and I don't know much about it, I'm not sure how much he knows about it yet. Can you go into any more information about what our representative told you about the nickel and more funds?
Lincoln Theinert's our advisor for the RSA, and so I have spoken with him. I've spoken with members of RTA about what we can do to promote the nickel. But Mr. Rhodes from Pax Walker, he invited, I believe you were with us, Ms. Bowling.
I
He
was.
invited Senator Elkin and Representative Hale. They toured our middle school, and they saw what we saw, and they are 100% in favor of helping this district. And so there's a thing called gap funding. And so KFIX, Kentucky Facilities, it's got a long name, they rank every school in Kentucky from 1, there's actually 1,000 on the list. So 1 is the worst school, 1,000's the best school. And so the middle school is 124 on that list. And so they're near the top. But if you take the nickel, what you're saying to the legislature is our community and our board are trying our best to help save this middle school. And so we have the opportunity that they will look at that, put us on the urgent needs list, and allow us the opportunity where they will come in and say, okay, we've looked at it, you've got 20 million, this is gonna cost you 30, 35 million, and they will, if the legislature agrees, they'll put in additional funds, maybe up to the complete cost. Some districts, they came and looked at their school several years ago and said, you don't need to renovate, it's beyond that, you need to build new, and they gave, I've got it in my computer, but I don't have it they gave that district $20 million to build a new building. So I don't think they'll give us money for a new building in the financial climate, but they could give us 10 or 12, $15 million additionally just for pursuing and getting this nickel.
Well, I think it shows them that if we're willing to take the nickel tax and pay that little extra, that we care. We have some, what they call skin in the game. But
Yes.
another thing that I think the general public does not understand, 'cause I didn't understand it either when I got on here, is that what the state is willing to give us now, it may not be on the table next year or the year after that. They only do that every once in a while, and you have to be willing to make that move if you need it when they're willing to give it, because it is not offered every year. It is only offered during certain periods, and I don't even know what determines that, but it's an opportunity, and it could be one of the last opportunities we have for them to give us that extra millions of dollars.
And on that list, we're ranked 124th out of 1,000. So 124th worst school. That was from the 2017 district facilities plan, which RTA is helping us work through now. And so we didn't get better since 2017. So we're probably going to, unfortunately, move up closer to number 1 on that list. And so that's something to look at. And Mr. Ruiz, when they're finished, they will come and have a more true number on what this is truly going to cost. And so, and I think you said you can have that before the tax hearing, or hope to, Mr. Ruiz? 23rd, yes, sir. Well, the next board meeting's October 23rd. They'll meet,
Well,
they'll
and
meet
that-
around the middle of the month. If we can, we can. If not, we'll discuss it.
And one of the other things that we want to make sure that the public understands on that nickel tax is that the nickel tax has to be used for buildings only. It cannot be used for salaries, positions, raises, nothing at all like that. It has to go to buildings.
Capital improvements. That's
And
it.
if you go back that calculator, the very last sentence says, at no cost to the taxpayer, it's for renovations, new construction, and debt service only. That is correct. And so,
I want to ask one question. At our rating of 124, how close are we skating to being a Category 5 school where the state will not allow us a renovation? Because that's what happened to Bethel and Salt Lake.
that's one I do not have the answer for. I just looked it up on, if you go to KD's website and you just type in KFIX, KFICS, that will immediately generate that. I can definitely inquire. We are rated, it has on that list A1 and A5 schools, but it doesn't say, as far as I know, how close we are, but I'll look into that for you.
Typically, if the board wanted to get rid of something because of the beginnings, there's no choice.
Right.
We at least now have a choice.
Well, I'm glad we've had this conversation. When we get to the regular session, I'm still going to do my superintendent report, and it's actually going to cover almost everything we've talked. But one of the points in there that I want to reiterate is going back, we're eventually going to get to that rate, regardless whether it's a nickel or through just even compensating rate. We're going to get there, but we're going to lose out on it. And when we get, there's no such thing as free money. The money the government gives us is the hard-earned money that we have given them. But when we get to the nickel and they're giving us $477,000, that's $477,000 of taxpayer money from other counties as well. So we're getting money that other people have paid in, and it's taking that burden off the backs of our people. So they're going to give us millions and millions of dollars that we, the citizens of Bath County, would not have to come up with because it's coming through those federal funds. And so that's another thing, the difference between next year when we get to 59, again, is we're still at the rate we were seeking last year, but we'll only be able to bring in the revenue, about $400,000 from that revenue, 300 to 400, when it would have been almost $1 million a year, counting what the equalization of the nickel is, plus all the extra bonding that would have came with it.
Okay, so one more thing about this. The main part of this was the tax hearing. And we've all been in conversation about dates, trying to get, when you're trying to have a special call meeting, it's just really difficult. Trying to get everybody's schedules and a place to have it and all that kind of thing. So, Carla, I know you had told me that you could not be, or you wouldn't be in town during October 5th and 6th. And, no, I'm sorry, 12th and 13th. And that is the days that we can get 4 of us together. Do you object to us having the tax hearing without you? I didn't fear you would. But anyways, right now, if you're all okay with it, I think everybody has answered to me that we could meet on the 12th or 13th. Can you tell me whether we have a football game on the 13th? Because I don't want to have it during that. We do. So I would recommend, if everybody's okay with it, Thursday, that 12th, to have it that night. If everybody could make that work, the 4 of us. And so we can discuss that during the break a little bit. If it works for you, great. We'll do the 12th of October. And the 4 of us will come together and do a tour and listen to all the comments of the community. Probably, my guess, probably around 6. Wouldn't you think 6 would be a starting? We'd probably come in, open the meeting, go directly to the tour, allow about an hour for the tour, and then come back in and open the floor up for comments. I'm not going to tell you how long that lasts. Who knows? It could be an hour. It could be 2 or 3. I don't know. But, we want to give them all the opportunity. One thing I want to make sure, last year, it turned into a big conversation back and forth. And, while it's not like public comments, we can have discussions with the crowd that's there, but we just don't need to turn it into, a big thing that goes on all night. So just wanted to throw that out there. Okay. Any other conversation about the discussion of the tax hearing and the date and all that good stuff? I did, yes. Yeah, but they don't come to the meeting.
Let me, if you don't mind.
Go ahead, sure.
The reason it has to fall on that date is because we're forced to have it on that date. We have to, in the 45-day window, run 2 ads in the paper consecutive weeks. And then we cannot have the meeting until 7 days after the last ad. and no later than 10 days. So, of course, our paper runs on Thursday, so that's 2 weeks. That gets us into the first possibility is the 5th through the 8th, which is a Saturday and a Sunday, 7th and 8th. And then the second window is what we just discussed, 12, 13, 14, 15, that no one wants to have it on a Saturday or Sunday, I don't think. And then we have to run another ad before the window closes. That'd be the next Thursday. So those are by regulation, those are the only 2 dates that we can do this. And so,
And that's a good point to make, and that's what's so frustrating about these tax hearings. Our only 2 options within the window, like he's talking about, are the 5th, 6th, 7th, and 8th, which is a Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, or the 12th, 13th, 14th, 15th, which is Thursday through Sunday. Because the way it's advertised and because the way the closing date is on the 45 days, that's our only 2 options. And on the 5th, 6th, we could get 3 board members. On the 12th, 13th, we could get 4 board members. And I really want 4 board members instead of 3 if at all possible. And then as far as the public goes, you know, if they're excited about it, they're going to come. But yes, thanks for that, Tim, about that. And yes, we knew it was fall break. Okay, if there's no other discussion on item 6, item 7, other business. The board is going to take a part of this other business, and we're going to take a tour with Mr. Thompson and Pax Walker, and we're going to go look at something here in the school building that needs some possible attention down the road as part of the agenda, the working session agenda. Anyone who's in here is welcome to go with us on this tour and look at this and listen to what they have to say to us. And then we will return just as soon as we can, get back in here, and then we'll adjourn and be ready to go on to the regular session. So at this time, we will leave and go with Mr. Thompson. Okay, we are back from our quick tour outside to look at part of the high school that's having some problems. So anyways, we're in item 7 of the working session, other business. I had one other item. The board may have some other items, but I just want to take a moment to welcome Mrs. Barbara Razor back to the board. I don't know, surely everybody has noticed that we have a new board member tonight, so I wanted to welcome her. She's a veteran. She's not first time, so she knows what she's doing, and we're really glad to have her back. So, all right. Any other items on other business during the working session? If not, item 8, we will adjourn at 6:57. I'd like to call this regular session for this meeting of the Bath County School Board to order on September 18th, 2023 at 7:00 p.m. Item number 2, discussion and possible action on approving tonight's agenda. Motion's been made by Carla, seconded by Brenda. Is there any further discussion on this item? If there's no further discussion, all those in favor of the motion, please signify by saying yes.
Yes.
Yes. All opposed, no. Motion passes 4-0. Item, sorry, 5-0. I forgot we've got
We've got
a new
5
board
now.
member.
We're full strength.
You
And
met
s-
Ms. Razor?
Yes, Ms. Razor, glad to meet you.
Thank you.
5-0. And I'm so glad to say that. Item number 3, this Pledge of Allegiance and silent devotion. At this time, we'll take a moment for private devotion. Okay, thank you. On to item number 4, Student Spotlight, Bath County High School.
Ms. Brandenburg is going to make a presentation this evening.
Hello. This school year started out wonderfully. We've had a lot of things going on at the high school. A lot of things are going on right now. It's homecoming week. As you can see, I'm dressed for the 80s. Tomorrow we have, I think we have Barbie versus Ken. We have servers versus bikers. So we have a big week in store. One of my seniors, Will Smith, he made a video for us. And this video just highlights the great things that's been happening since the beginning of the school year for you guys. Thank you, guys.
Ms. Brandenburg, at the podium, there's a certificate for Mr. Smith. Please tell him we appreciate it very much. Thank you.
I'll give it to him. Thank you.
Okay, thank you for that very much. It was a great video. Item number 5, superintendent and board communication.
During the working session, we really discussed everything that was going to say, but I'm going to repeat that. My apologies. I just want to share a few things about the nickel. The state ranks the conditions of all schools in Kentucky through the Kentucky Facilities Inventory and Classification System, called KFIX. The Kentucky Department of Education uses this system to rank schools from the worst to the best. Out of 1,000 schools, Bath Middle ranks as the 124th worst school in Kentucky. We will enter this middle school with projected $4,625,000 in bonding capacity. Upon passing the nickel, our bonding potential would immediately increase by $6,375,000. In July 2024, our bonding would increase an additional $1.4 million, and in July 2026, our bonding would increase an additional $4 million. This will increase our total bonding capacity to $16,400,000, plus the SFCC gift of $7,146,500. Our total for the renovation would be $23,546,500. With full equalization of the nickel, we will also receive $477,708 annually from the state. Passing this nickel will allow our district to pursue gap funding from the state legislature. These are funds given to districts who took a nickel and still have a shortfall. If approved, we will receive additional funds, possibly millions of dollars, to complete the project. Senator Elkin and Representative Hale have both pledged support in pursuing these funds should the nickel pass. On our district webpage, located at the top, we have an updated tax calculator where you can enter your assessed property value and see what you'll be paying when the nickel passes. The average homeowner will pay an additional $5.55 a month. For reference, one Big Mac sandwich at McDonald's with tax costs $5.83. Last year, the board opted for the nickel plus 4. This would have set the tax rate at 59.6. If the board chose this year to take the nickel plus compensating, the rate will be 61.7. If the board chooses not to take the nickel and instead takes the 4% for the next 2 years, the rate will fall between 59 and 62 cents. In essence, the same rate as nickel plus compensating. The taxpayers will pay the same amount, but the district will forfeit $12,400,000 in bonding, $477,708 annually in additional free funds from the state that total over $8,598,000 over the next 18 years, and possibly lose out on millions in urgent need funds. There are 23 other districts asking their citizens to approve the nickel. When it passes in their districts, your tax dollars will be going to those districts to help their students have better schools. Pass the nickel and let's use taxes collected from all over the state to help our students and staff have the best facilities possible. Our citizens do not have to bear the brunt of the burden. If the nickel fails, the funds needed to fully renovate the middle school will never be achieved. We'll be having an upcoming hearing. We'll discuss a hearing tonight, set a date for the tax hearing. I will be repeating a lot of this, but it's my goal just to let the public understand what's needed and to be fully transparent and work towards what's the best for our students and staff. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Evans. Item number 6, discussion and possible action on approving the following items. A, minutes, August 21st and September 5th, 2023. B, August financial statement. C, claims. D, superintendent expenditures. E, travel. F, use of facilities. G, review of all monthly financial reports of all funds. H, pay bills through September 30th, 2023. I, for year 24 working budget, fiscal year 24 working budget. J, postage machine agreement with Central Business Systems Incorporated. K, migrant MOA. And L, TAR report.
Make the motion to approve items A through L.
Motion's been made by Eric and seconded by Carla. Is there any further discussion about any of these items on the consent items? If there's no further discussion, then all those in favor of the motion, please signify by saying yes.
Yes.
Yes. All those opposed, please signify by saying no. Motion carries 5-0. Item number 7, public comments. Do we have any public comments tonight? No public comments? Okay. Item number 8, discussion and possible action on the special inspections proposal for the Bath County High School LAVAC project BG number 22-520.
I make the motion to approve the action on the special inspections proposal for the BCHS LAVAC project BG number 22/520.
I'll-
Motion's been made by Carla and seconded by Eric. Is there any further discussion on this item? If there's no further discussion, then all those in favor of this motion, please signify by saying yes.
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 Yes. All those opposed, please signify by saying no. Motion carries 5-0. Item number 9, discuss and possible action on approving the special inspections invoice from L.E. Gregg for the Bath County High School miscellaneous renovations project BG number 22-376.
I make the motion to approve BG 22-376, the special inspection invoice from L.E. Gregg for the Bath County High School miscellaneous renovation.
I'll second.
Motion's been made by Eric, seconded by Brenda. Is there any further discussion of this item? If there's no further discussion, then all those in favor of the motion, please signify by saying yes.
Yes.
Yes. All those opposed, please signify by saying no. Motion carries 5-0. Item number 10, discussion and possible action on approval of the topographic survey revised proposal of $13,665.00 from Thoroughbred for the additional $2,665.00 to locate underground utilities for the Bath County High School miscellaneous renovations project BG number 22-376.
I make the motion to approve BG number 22-376.
Motion's been made by Eric and seconded by Carla. Is there any further discussions on this item? If there's no further discussion, then all those in favor of the motion, please signify by saying yes.
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 All those opposed, please signify by saying no. Motion carries 5-0. Item number 11, discussion and possible action on approving the topographic survey invoice from Thoroughbred for the Bath County High School miscellaneous renovations project BG number 22-376.
I make the motion on approving the topographical survey invoice for the same BG 22-376.
Motion's been made by Eric. It's been seconded by Carla. Is there any further discussion on this item? If there's no further discussion, then all those in favor of the motion, please signify by saying yes.
Yes.
Yes. All those opposed, please signify by saying no. Motion carries 5-0. Item number 12, discussion and possible action on the 2024-25 school calendar committee formation.
I'll make the motion to approve the 2024-25 school calendar committee formation.
I'll second.
Motion's been made by Brenda and seconded by Barbara. Is there any further discussion on this item?
Are we picking a board member on this one or wait until other business?
I figured what we'd do is just another item on 12.
Okay.
And appoint someone. So, if is there any more discussion after that? No? Okay. All those in favor of the motion, please signify by saying yes. Yes. All those opposed, please signify by saying no. Motion carries 5-0. And then as part of 12, we need to choose a board member to be part of that committee. Or I should say a volunteer.
I'll volunteer.
Okay, so Barbara has volunteered. So, any motion? Okay. So, who was the second? Okay. So, there's been a motion has been made by Eric and seconded by Carla to appoint Barbara Razor as our board member person to be with the school calendar committee for 2024-25. Is there any further discussion on this item? If there's no further discussion, then all those in favor of the motion, please signify by saying yes.
Yes.
Yes. All those opposed, please signify by saying no. Motion carries 5-0. Okay. Item 13, discussion and possible action to set the tax hearing date. And let's keep in mind before we make any motions, we need to make a date, a location within the location. We need to declare a rate, and we also need to make sure that it's signified in that we are going to do a tour as part of that tax hearing. And if everybody, we'll just have to come up with the date, but we're thinking right now that that will be next month, October 12th at 6 o'clock.
At the middle school.
Yeah, at the middle school.
Start in the cafeteria.
You want me to make the motion?
You've got all the information.
All right.
We've all just got one piece each.
Okay. I'd like to make the motion that we have a 2024-25 tax hearing at the Bath County Middle School, and the meeting will start and be held in the cafeteria on the date of October 12th at 6 o'clock p.m. And the rate that we will be discussing as our declared rate will be compensate with the nickel tax rate. This tax hearing will also have a tour of the middle school that will start immediately after the meeting opens up.
Okay. I'll second that motion.
Motion's been made by John, and a second has been made by Brenda. Is there any further discussion on this item? If there's no further discussion, then all those in favor of the motion, please signify by saying yes.
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 Yes. All those opposed, please signify by saying no. Motion carries 5-0. Item number 14, Other business?
I want to make a motion to make a temporary position for a fourth grade teacher at Crossroads Elementary School. And I feel like after seeing the numbers, it's gonna be better to have another teacher instead of the transfer, because if we pull one over here at OES, looking at this, we're gonna be in the same position, but one kid short if we do that, and then we're disrupting their school system with pulling a teacher. So I'd like to go ahead and make a motion to hire a new teacher at Crossroads Elementary.
Second.
Motion's been made by Carla and seconded by Eric. Is there any further discussion of this item? If there's no further discussion, then all those in favor of the motion, please signify by saying yes.
Yes.
Yes. All those opposed, please signify by saying no. Motion carries 5-0. Okay, under item 14, is there any other business? Okay. Moving on to item 15, adjournment of this meeting.
I'll
Make that
second.
motion.
Motion's been made by Eric and seconded by Brenda. Is there any further discussion of this item? If there's no further discussion, then I'll,
What discussion?
okay. It's already been approved.
Hold on. These young students here prepared a presentation. Would you be willing, board chair, to let them go ahead and give it? since they-
Absolutely. We are in other business, and we'd love to hear it. Come on down and tell us.
Thank you, sir.
I'm so sorry I let that slip by. I thought we were going to do it in the spotlight, so I'm sorry, but that's
It's okay. These are our senior class officers here. They prepared the presentation for the cruise to the Bahamas. I'm going to allow our senior class president, Ms. Addie St. John, to present this to you guys. They've worked really hard on coming up with all the senior trip quote, getting the names of students that would be willing to attend or that want to attend. Also, we worked with, after my first time coming to visit you guys, I actually worked with a travel agent to get the cost down on the trip. So we went from $1,200 to approximately $900, so we got the price down by $300. And so my students prepared a presentation for this just to kind of help make you guys understand what they wanted, and also maybe to help get this trip approved. And since it's approved, of course, they seem really happy now, but I'll go ahead and let Miss Addie go ahead and present this to you.
No pressure, but if you mess this up, they're going to change their minds. So,
It's Mallory.
Okay, so I am the senior class vice president, and we prepared this. It is our senior trip cruise to the Bahamas. It'll be March 6th through March 11th of next year. Our travel dates will be March 6th. We will leave from here, and we will arrive in Charleston, South Carolina, where we will spend the night. On March 7th, we will board the Carnival Sunshine cruise ship. March 8th, we'll have a day at sea where we can do all things that are included on the cruise. March 9th, we'll spend the day in the Bahamas. March 10th, we'll have another day at sea, and March 11th, we will arrive back in Charleston and head back here to Owensville and be back the same day. These are all of the activities included for all the students on board. There is a water park, a basketball court, ping pong, pool table, and foosball, mini golf, a swimming pool where they do have drive-in movie nights on deck. There is a comedy night, play productions, rope course, volleyball, soccer, a workout gym, and a teen nightclub, which is ages 15 to 18. We had 3 options of things that we could do in the Bahamas. So we could do a taste of the Bahamas, which will be around $900, a little over for the total trip price. A water boat over the coral reefs, which will also be a little over $900. And we could spend the day on the cruise ship and just visit the shops at the port, which will make the total price $815 for each student who goes. These are all the restaurants included with the price that we pay. So it's Guy's Burgers, Blue Iguana Cantina, the Dining Room, the Lido Marketplace, Sea Day Pizzeria, Carnival Deli, Captain's Pasta, a Sea Day Brunch, Swirls Ice Cream, a dining room breakfast, a sweet spot, and a cooking demonstration where the chefs will demonstrate and students get to taste. For chaperones and room accommodations, we will have 10 chaperones, which will be school employees attending our senior trip. Anytime that a student will leave the ship, there will be a chaperone to every 5 students, ensuring that each student is safe and watched carefully. We will have a max of 50 students attending our senior trip, which means the bus seats will be first come, first served for each student. There will be 5 students to each room on the ship and 4 students to each room the night that we stay in Charleston. In order to attend the trip, each student will need a valid photo ID, a birth certificate or passport. They have to have a COVID vaccination card or a negative COVID test within 72 hours before the day we board, formal clothes for one night's meal, and extra money for the lunch on the way down to Charleston and or any souvenirs they may want. There are also activities and restaurants included on the ship that are not included in their overall price. So if they would like to do any of those, they will need extra money for that too. In order for them to attend the trip, they must be passing all of their classes. They cannot have an out-of-school suspension or more than 3 days of ACP, and they cannot be truant, which is 3 or more unexcused absences. If they get in trouble on the trip, they will not be able to walk at graduation, and they will not be able to attend prom. And then this is just a video, which, do we want to show that? We won't show that because it's like 13 minutes long, but that's just a video of the cruise ship. So that's all we have. Thank you.
I have a question.
Hold on just a second.
I'm sorry, I have a question. You mentioned that there are going to be 5 students to a room on the ship. Is the ship equipped for that? Because most ships are like 2 little twin beds and 1 little tiny bathroom.
Yes, the travel agent provided, she looked through all of it and found that they're gonna have, it'll have 2 bunk beds and then a pull-out couch in the room for the kids.
Okay, so
Yeah, she did,
even 5 girls can survive.
yes,
Okay.
yes, 5 girls will survive.
Okay.
How many of those restaurants that you listed are included in your price?
All of them.
All of them are?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
And even part of their presentation said that they would have to pay for their meal up and back. However, we've also made it so they don't have to pay for that either. So that once they pay their, depending on $815 to $900, depending on if they do the excursion or not, everything's paid for unless there's just something extra that they want beyond what we're providing.
Do you have 50 signed up right now to go?
Right now, they have
I think it was like 63 last time.
63 that were interested. So once we actually put it out there and get our first deposit, we'll be able to have the count of how many that there will actually be.
Have you, can you hear me? Have you looked at, doing the fundraisers, we didn't really talk, but we mentioned it last time so that it would help the kids, put a
Red
pot
Book.
of money in there.
Red Book won't allow us to use anything if not all the kids go. That's the only problem with that. Because I've talked to Lana about it. We really, looked into seeing. However, we're gonna do like 4 different payments, so their payments won't be huge. And I believe that this trip is actually less money than the 8th grade's trip to Washington DC this year.
It probably is.
Yeah, so I think we've got a well laid out plan for our kids.
So is there anything, and this would be probably Mr. Evans' question here, I'm gonna pick your brain, or Brittany, is there any way that you could legally raise money for a group of kids, knowing, I guess, in advance that not 100% of them are going? There's no, I mean, you have to go by a red book on that, or is there another rule that you can fall under to raise money that way? Okay, let me ask you a question. How come a softball team can fundraise for the softball team? Because the whole team is going?
That'd be a sponsorship.
Okay, so you could have a sponsorship group. Is that? For everyone, right.
That's what she's saying. Let's take the softball teams going to Florida. If the trip is $500 a student, and we're selling suckers, and I sell $500 worth of suckers, that doesn't mean I paid my trip. That $500 goes with the $12, and it gets distributed out, and so I still owe money. You can't fundraise for yourself, but if, just like our kids that we got money donated for going to college, they sponsor that, and we can give that to them. So like,
Right.
if you said, I want to pay for this child specifically, you could pay their way. They just can't raise the money themselves as a fundraiser.
Ms. Brandenburg, do you think, and I know that's a crazy question, but if that trip was free, would every kid want to go on it?
Well, we actually had some no's.
You
Whenever we
did?
did, yeah, we did have some no's.
Okay. Like, how many's in that senior class?
121 kids is in the senior class.
So that's 50% that
Yeah. Oh,
are
yeah,
going
we
to
have.
go. And so of the 50% that are not going, how many of those do not want to go?
I do not know. We just know we took the names of the kids that said they wanted to go, and then some of them said no, they didn't want to go, but they just filled it in. I do know, like, from previous senior trips, approximately only 30 to 40 kids went.
So 50%'s a high number,
Yeah,
isn't it?
the percentage we have right now of kids that say, yes, I want to go, is pretty a high number.
Okay, well, I think that's great.
Yeah.
I wish any kid that wants to go could go. That's, we all wish that.
And I've had some kids say to me, I need help paying, and I was like, well, maybe we can find a way.
Right.
And I definitely, I'm open to suggestions or ideas, or,
Well, I do have some ideas and things that I'll get with you
Okay.
after this.
Great, thank
Okay.
you. We do appreciate your all's approval on this, so I can get this kind of rolling out and get them started paying their little payments on it. So, we're excited.
Thank you all. Very proud of you.
Thank you.
Have a good time.
Thanks for your presentation. Without looking at the YouTube video, we did vote on the teacher. Okay, it's 5-0. Okay, I just want to make sure. All right. Any other business? Item 14. If there's no other business, then item number 15, adjournment. And we've got a motion by Eric and seconded by Brenda. If there's any further discussion on this item, If there's none, then all those in favor, please signify by saying yes. Yes. All those opposed, please signify by saying no. Motion carries 5-0.